So hi, welcome to Filmmakers and Boardroom. This is an FIB live conversation episode here with the cast and crew of Bad Dad. FIB live conversation, just to give you a quick rundown, is an opportunity to give the platform to indie underground filmmakers, allow them the opportunity to speak their mind, tell us about their experiences, their plans, anything that allows all of us as a community of filmmakers to come together and understand each other, support each other, and just be able to essentially be there for each other through our experiences, our knowledge, all of that. So I want to welcome the cast and crew. Jalissa from Filmmakers and Ballroom is also with us. And what I would like to start off with is just have each cast and crew introduce themselves, what their role is in the film for Bad Dad, also any background information they would like to provide of themselves. So Chisa, if you want to start.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Chisa Hutchinson. I am the writer and director of Bad Dad. Um, yeah, I always get I have such anxiety around this question of oh, tell us a little about yourself. I'm an anxious person. No. Um, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I studied dramatic writing, Vassar for undergrad, NYU for grad, and then just sort of wound up, doing what I love, luckily. And it's becoming increasingly more difficult to do that. So, a bitch has to diversify. Is it okay? It's cool if I, yeah, okay. So, yeah, a girl has to diversify. Um, yeah, and then luckily Brian came along and was like, "So, hey, do you have any short scripts that I could film myself in?" And I was like, "Well, no, I don't have any, but I'll write one for you." And then once it was done, um, we were thinking about directors, and I was like, well, shit, I can direct. Maybe I can direct it. Yeah, sure, I can do that. And then I just kind of wound up really, really enjoying that experience. So yeah, it's been kind of a wild ride, and here we are.
Yes. Brian.
Sure. I'm Brian McManamon. I am a producer and actor in Chisa's Bad Dad. I had the privilege of working as an actor with Chisa a few times in the past, and have been such a huge fan and just lover of her as a person and as an artist. And so, I really reached out to her, specifically her, because I love her voice as an artist and what she has to say. And she also knows me as an actor. And so it was really incredible, truly, to see what she would come up with. And then when she wanted to direct it, that was the icing on the cake. And we had such a good time producing this with Darren and Megan, and have had a good string of festivals to show up to. But I'm primarily an actor, and this is my first foray into producing, and so I learned a lot.
Nice. What about you, Darren?
Yeah, my name is Darren Joe. I was the cinematographer and a producer on Bad Dad as well. I met Chisa and Brian actually in 2018 when on a feature that Chisa wrote and our good friend Lainey directed. Um, and ever since then, yeah, I've just been keeping in touch. But Chisa reached out and she was like, "Hey, I have this short I want to make. Do you want to shoot it?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, hell yeah, I want to shoot it." And she thought we were shooting on an iPhone, and I was like, "No, no, no, no. We're gonna do it real. We're gonna do it right." And I exploded the budget, and here we are.
Nice. All right. So I want to start off with the conversation with Bad Dad. I mean, Julissa and I watched the film at the festival, and there's just so many things to discuss. But I want to start off with the essential element of what is like the first thing creating the story, right? And coming up with the story. And what I got from the story when I watched it, I was like, okay, there's a lot of suspense, very edgy ending. And I thought that was interesting. And but I certainly could relate to it somewhat on a personal level. And let me just start off by giving this little information, not information, but sort of like a little life experience, right? Because what it is done nowadays in terms of being who you are, in terms of the bullying, in terms of being different and all that, is very different from the way it was back in the 80s or 90s. Back then, the bullying was pretty rough, and your reaction is to sometimes, like the character of David, is to want to take matters into your own hand and say, well, you know what, I'm going to teach you a lesson, let you know how this feels and all of that. But at the same time, I think nowadays it feels different because nowadays people are more open, younger people are more accepting of differences. And my question to you guys is, what prompted you, what inspiration did you have on a personal level, even to create this kind of a story about bullying, about being physically, emotionally assaulted, and then feeling that anger and that revengeful anger of wanting to take things into matters into your own hand, or was it just purely fiction?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yes, fiction, but also not because there's just a confluence of things going on with Bad Dad. And it began with Brian. I asked Brian, well, all right, so I'm gonna write this script. Is there anything, any type of character that you've always wanted to play that you haven't, or just there's something that you're interested in playing right now? And I think he gave me two words. They were naughty and I want to say it was crazy or insane, or it was something unhinged, or but naughty and unhinged, something that was like super edgy, as you pointed out, like the end was edgy, right? So I already had a flavor of a character, but then I had to sort of marry that with everything that I know about Brian as a person, which is like, that I wanted to like be true to, right? Because he's just you're like such a sweetheart. You're such a sweetheart, and you're such like a warm and supportive person, a really awesome teacher, a really great dad, like super protective of his kid, a family man, just like a loving person, just a loving human being. And I really had to think about like what what could push someone like that to do what his character does in the movie. And yeah, the only thing I could think of is like, man, if somebody fucked with his kid, he could probably fuck somebody up. Like he could probably like do some damage, right? If somebody messed with his kid, and that is just human, That's just like everybody can get behind that and at least understand it, if not condone a sort of more violent approach to that. Um, so there was that, but then also, of course, like politically, everything that was going on. I mean, good grief. By the time we were done, or like into post, um, the election, the federal election happened, and day one was like, and we're going to just go ahead and erase all mentions of LGBTQ anything on the White House site. And also, we're just going to go ahead and upbraid all the progress that, y'all have made, you know, for your community. And it was just like, oh, shit, God. And it just felt really important to like, to put that story out there. And also in a real way and not in a like, let's all be friends way, because sh- shit, like even Michelle Obama at one point was like, yeah, I know I said when they go low, we go high, but then she had to backpedal on that, after the election. So if even Michelle Obama is like, nah, man, if you get punched, you got to punch back. Like, then we're gonna come out swinging, and that's what we did with the story.
Nice. I mean, um, the character of Warren, I mean, it was just such an atypical character of the typical straight guy, homophobe with the stereotypes and everything. It was just so well written. And I saw that, I said like, oh yeah, that's it. Like that's just like it's mind-boggling that people like that do exist, but they do, and that's just so well written. She said, it was just so amazing. But Brian, I mean, a little bit about your background. I mean, you've played villains in the past, right? You played Clayface in the Gotham series and all that. What I want to know is, she said just say you're an amazing, you know, sensitive soul and everything, but as an actor, like, how do you prepare for to play these kind of very, I would say, complicated roles? I mean, because let's be real, David is not necessarily a villain, but he's doing things that people would just probably not condone that kind of behavior, right? So, what is it like in your preparation as an actor, like that allows you to say, I'm going to go to this dark corner here and I'm going to dive in there? And what are your limitations? What is the part where you say, but I can't go this far because that's just not me? And I'm referring to your technicality. What's your technical approach to prep for roles to play villains or complicated characters?
Well, I would say I think it's so important to care for these people that you're playing, and that there are no villains really. We're all people doing the best that we can in the circumstances that we have. And so, first of all, I would say like to find the humanity in the person's actions to be able to justify them, and to be able to know what's keeping them, what's putting them in those circumstances. And what I think Chisa wrote is deep on many levels, but one of the levels that I really connected to was as a gay person and as a person who has been subjected to bullying myself, that kind of I don't know, experience has made its way into the core of who I am. And to now be to have a child and yet still be a child in some ways, right? Like it's still part of us, and so we're super sensitive. And so the trauma, to use the word, of our experience collectively as gay people and what we've had to overcome is there. And so to have your son fucked with in a way that speaks to, it's a kind of continuation, an evolution of bullying. And in this case, my son is being bullied for what he says is because he has two dads. And that is directly, it's on two levels, right? Like one is, that's my son you're hurting. And second of all, that's me that's being hurt as well. So it's because of me that this is all happening. So, he kind of gets two birds with one stone in a way. And I think I have a great amount of compassion for anyone who's had to raise children, and they say it's a bit of your heart outside of yourself, living and running around in the world. And so that kind of compassion for him, and I wish he had another recourse. I wish he had another way forward, but the way in which he approaches his life is the way he did it. And I think Chisa wrote a really complex person, because he does give Warren a lot of opportunities, which is one of the technical things I really enjoyed playing, is that if you watch the film, perhaps for a second time, I hope you'll see that the unfolding of every opportunity Warren could have to correct the situation. In other words, so that it wouldn't have the ending. Like, what are the possible outcomes beyond the one that is inevitable in the story? What could have happened? Maybe there could have been forgiveness. Maybe he could have redeemed himself. Maybe I could have found out he wasn't such a bad person after all. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know. So many things I think go through David's mind until the final push.
I mean, I think it's revolutionary. I was like, what? But at the same time, it's like, you're breaking also, like in cinema, certain stereotypes. And you were like, hey, if we're pushed, we're gonna do this. And we've seen it in cinema, everybody pulling out a gun, but it's never been seen this way.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it
glad
was
you mentioned that. That was really important to us all. I mean, I know Chisa can speak to that. Just like the representation, we see it so often, particularly as a mother, and a mother revenge story when something happens to their child. So that was really exciting, and I think has really ruffled some feathers, honestly, as people watch this film. And we also know that in cinema, gay representation for a long period of time was villains, right? So we were a sort of villain villainized in cinema as well. So it's kind of an interesting matchup of the humanity and can we still play characters that do things that are rather naughty.
Absolutely, you can. You sure did it. And that range and that building to that climatic point, I watched every single shot and I'm like, wow, your range is magnificent.
Yeah, it's that bathroom scene when you go into the bathroom, you pretend you're using the bathroom, and it's just that scene particular, I would say, just pivots the whole story. It's like there's that transformation. It's almost like you're going from point A to point B now, and now things are going to get very interesting, and you feel it when you watch the film. It's almost like you know something is going to change here right after that. So it was really well done. Darren, so as a cinematographer, first of all, let me tell you that I love chamber pieces. Love the idea because it really is challenging for not only as for the director, even for the actors, but it also really is challenging for the cinematographer to work within a confined space and to figure out how can I make this interesting for the next, I don't know, the film is like 20 minutes, whatever it is, but how do I consistently make this interesting? How do I set up the shots? Um, how do I approach this? I mean, can you tell us just what challenges you might have had filming this one particular location? And great location, by the way. I loved it, and I love everything about it. And I love the random shots of like the dishes at times in the very beginning, the way it was edited. I don't know who edited the film, but just everything was just so well done. So if you could tell us a little bit about that,
Shout
Jen.
out Bathsheba.
Yeah, Bathsheba. Yeah, I mean, nothing happens in a vacuum. Chisa and I worked really closely together to kind of build the shape of the confrontation. I guess it's, like a 14-minute confrontation between two people. But I think there's a lot of I guess the main task that I had was the words were there and the story was the characters were there. And I think we wanted to make David a mystery to people, to the audience. So his intentions aren't clear. And that's why most, like all of his shots are kind of at a slight Dutch angle, to kind of give you a little slight uneasy feeling when you're watching him on screen. And Warren's shots are very, very much, set normal bubble. And yeah, so when we see David kind of Dutch and we're not sure about him, and I think that was kind of like a little misdirection, I think, that we wanted to put in there to kind of not really clue off the audience on like who David was or what was actually going to happen with the plot. Because that last monologue really needs to kind of come as a surprise and hit pretty hard. And there is a great shot that we did that didn't make the edit. I'm just going to mention it. It's a correction shot where the camera goes from Dutch and it corrects after the ending, and so you get a little bit of reprieve, but unfortunately, timing wise, it didn't make sense. So not
I,
in,
I love the Dutch angles. I mean, when Brian's character enters and he's like he walks in and I was like, oh man, this is nice. I also loved how you really as like you go into the arc of the story, you go in tighter and
Mhm.
tighter and tighter. And so I definitely was like you didn't give the audience space as we're getting to the arc to like you're not leaving here. You're staying within this tight close up and you're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about you guys. So did you have a storyboard or did you guys acclimate yourself to the setting when you shot the film?
We didn't have a formal storyboard, but we did discuss, okay, how many shots is this? Like this particular scene, this chunk of text, how many angles, what angles do you want in there? And it is very good about being like, well, this makes sense to do it from, and I think we should have a mid here, and you're gonna want this in post. He was very good at anticipating like what kinds of shots because I would be like, oh no, I don't think we really need a close there. And he's like, we do. We do though, or whatever. So yeah, it's really really, really great to have like someone who, you know, who's professional, knows what the hell they're doing, and who can um especially when you're directing for the first time, you know, be very patient and sort of anticipate like your rookie mistakes, and you know, and sort of step in and be like, no, dear, oh, you this is actually what you want. And it's like, you're right, I do. And so now I'm just gonna like have to work with Darren for the rest of my
Aha!
life.
Well, you know what? When you find that magic, you know, the director and DP trust is everything. And you see that fluidity in your film, you know, it is everything because what, especially this being your first project, um, so when did you know you wanted to take that leap into directing? Because you have garnered so much success as a playwright. You've done, you know, you've written a feature film, The Subject, and you're also going, you're writing for TV. You have you know, The Burrows with Netflix. How did you know? Okay, I'm gonna do this, and did you like it? Will you do it again?
Hell yeah, I'll do it again. Yeah. I didn't, this wasn't like I wasn't like scheming to direct. It was literally just us being like, well, who the hell is gonna direct this thing? And who can we get? And who can, you know, and we actually thought about like other people. We had like a little short list or whatever, but that it just wasn't. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I mean,
Organic.
how bad can it be? So it was really just sort of more out of, you know, uh, I don't know, necessity, budget, you know, like it wasn't meant to be like a serious thing. It was just like two friends fucking around. Like it wasn't supposed to
Okay.
be that serious. But then you add a Darren and shit's gonna get serious.
Oh
And
yeah.
suddenly you're gonna have, you know, you need equipment and you need insurance and you need
By the
and
way,
you
what
need all
camera
this other
did you guys
stuff.
use? I'm sorry.
What did you?
Now that you mentioned budget, what camera did Darren bring on set for this?
Darren.
Oh, we shot on a Arri LF with movie
Oh,
cam.
that's a good camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you own it or?
No, I have a very good relationship with Ari Rental in New York.
Oh,
So
amazing
they they
camera.
they really helped us out on this. Shout
Good.
out to Andrea and Lewis and Cecilia.
Nice. Now, you guys are, the three of you are producers on this film. And since we're already touching the subject of budget and all that, and we know how hard it is for like underground indie filmmakers to get anything off the ground. And one of the biggest obstacles, of course, is money. How did you guys go about setting up the finance for all this? You know, how did you guys work together on that? What was your agreement? What are your expectations?
I'm gonna jump in there and say like we had such low expectations as we were beginning. Chisa's not lying when she says we were just doing this for fun, and then you realize that to do anything costs money. And when things started to add up, we brought on Megan Kinnery, who is a producer on this, as well as being a producer of The Subject, which we all were involved in. Chisa wrote it, Darren was DP, and I had a featured role in it. And Megan was a producer on there. So we looped in Megan, and then Megan, you know, we told her we just need to learn how this happens, because it was the first time Chisa and I had produced anything, and so we're still learning. I mean, to be honest, about how much it costs, how it gets done, and that was the fun part for me. It felt like a college education, honestly, and how it all unfolded is surprising to me. But we started fundraising through Seed and Spark, just Chisa and I, and got everyone we could to give us some money, but that only went so far, and we were about a week out from our actual shoot, and we still had a huge amount of money yet to make it happen. And so it was a tricky moment. I remember it could have not happened at all, and we luckily found an incredible EP, two of them, in fact, one after filming and one before, that really helped make it happen. And so a shout out to Escape Route Films and Luis Figueroa for being our EPs on this, and we couldn't have done it without them. And like I said, we're still learning about the cost of this, even as we submit to festivals, and just how much it costs to make a short film. I certainly never imagined it would be the number that it is, and we're so grateful to everyone who supported us financially through this. I've learned a lot, and so
Nice.
that's what I remember.
Yeah, you'll see. Well, first of all, we came at it from every angle. We did the grassroots, posting on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, thanking anyone who gave even $5 publicly. You'll see the list of special thanks at the end. It's literally every single person who donated even just like $10, because it's important. Like, it's important to acknowledge that when people step up, like even if it's just like a little, like, it's just to offer a little encouragement, because it is really easy to just sort of ignore well, for me, it's like, the 50 posts from friends who are like, I'm raising money for this, da, da, da. So it's really easy for people to just be like, okay, that's cool, next, so just to sort of acknowledge the people who, really saw a post and was like, yeah, why not? I'll throw a little something your way. Was really cool. But yeah, it does help to have those big angel donor people come in also, and organizations or companies to sort of get behind and push real
Nice.
hard. But we are just swinging from vine to vine, man.
Yeah, I will say
We
though
don't
that
know.
I think the reason I'm not going to speak for Jason or Luis, but I think a big reason why they jumped on, and it's the big reason why I was like, we got to shoot this like properly and not just on our iPhones, is because the script is so good, and we really need the story needs to be told in the way it needs to be told, and that unfortunately, that just costs money, and I think that Jason and Lewis would agree that it had to be done the way it had to be done. Um, so I think finding people who believe in you and kind of want to elevate that is really important, just like Jesus said.
Nice. Brian touched a subject which falls into my next line of questioning. We're talking about film festivals now. Film festivals is a blessing, could also be quite the opposite. But as underground indie filmmakers, what 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 do you guys feel? How do you feel about film festivals? Top tier, second tier, bottom of the barrel festivals. What is your approach to submitting this film to film festivals? What are your expectations from film festivals, and how has the experience been so far?
I'm gonna let Brian speak to that because he has been a champ, a champ about submitting. Go ahead.
Well, it's a lot like auditioning, actually. So I'm kind of
Mm.
familiar with that, in terms of putting your work out there and seeing who responds, and not everyone responds in the way that you'd like them to. I am really pleased with where we're at so far. We've screened at 4 festivals, if I'm right, and 3 of them have been in New York, and one of them was in Los Angeles. And we had a great time. I mean, we've had a great time. We've all shown up and seen the film together, and um, going out to LA, Chisa and I had an amazing time with the Beverly Hills Film Festival and went to the fancy gala. And just, I think film festivals can function on many levels and for many reasons. But for us, I realized as we were celebrating in LA, it was just like that's what it was. You kind of have to have an end point to a film, and the end point seems to be when you're all together celebrating that it was made, and then an audience can see it. So I've seen that the purpose of it through experience, which is like, oh, this makes sense that we're here watching this film with people because this is where we wanted to wind up. And then from that, the whole game of who gets into what festival and how that happens, I'm still learning. I mean, it seems like it's a really interesting web of how anything gets in anywhere. So I'm super grateful to where we're at so far, and I hope that we will have a chance to bring it to the South and maybe to Canada and drop it in Europe somewhere. I would like for us to have a reach that isn't just New York City and LA, so that we can see what this film does in other markets or in other audiences, other communities. One of our producers is really interested in kind of making communities with this film. So bringing some perhaps people in the gay community together to watch this film and see what kind of conversations come up from that, and doing that in places perhaps where there aren't many avenues for discussions and conversations around gay parenting, period. So I think that's an interest of ours as well. But it's disappointing when you don't get into some of these big ones, because they definitely have a high profile, and it makes you feel great that people cared at that echelon. And yet also, I've just loved every single film festival we've been a part of, and it's just fun to get people in a room to watch the film.
I love that end, the end point of a film that you said, because as independent filmmakers, we can go up to like 50 submissions to different festivals and get turned down, and you're investing all this money, and you think to yourself, like, when should I stop?
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. There is a lifeline for a film, and you, as the filmmaker, needs to know what that is for your individual project. So I love that you put a point to that. And also, I love the idea of building communities about, like, the LGBTQ community, um, parenting.
Yeah.
I have a lots of friends that are parenting and in that way. And, I love that. I think that's great because, for me and my husband, we had to do IVF, and we didn't have the traditional route. So I was leaning on to my other friends. I was like, listen, we're not family building the the traditional way. And I learned so much together. We learned so much together. And I love that. I love that. I love seeing my friends, you know, um, and I'm always rooting for them because I know that it's even extra harder because you're dealing with a surrogate, or it's just hard. So I love that you're building up that conversation because I have many, many friends who are going through that right now.
Mm.
It's
And I think, yeah,
in the
go ahead.
fall. I think we're going to have a special screening with an organization, a nonprofit that does excellent work in helping potential gay parents create families, and they're putting together a gay parenting weekend in New York, and I think we'll probably do a screening as part of that, with a conversation around perhaps bullying, or around residual trauma of what it is to be raising kids in this day and age. So I think
It's
it's really
also it's
meaningful.
also new. It's also very new. And I would love to, I will invite my friends because I know they struggle through it. So please share that invitation if it's in New York.
Sure.
I'll send I'll send people your way for sure. I love it. I love it, love it. Thank you for that.
And I just want to touch something in regards, and Brian already mentioned it, which allows me to segue into this next line of questioning. And we talked about the ending being edgy. Brian talked about submitting the films to queer festivals. How has the response been from those particular film festivals? Because the reason why I'm asking this particularly is because sometimes, and Brian, you probably know just as I know Chisa as well, in terms of sometimes queer cinema can be very rather safe in terms of the general mainstream mentality within the community. And anything that's a little dark, anything that's a little more edgy, it's kind of frowned upon. And it's almost like questioned and almost like saying, well, I get the story. And you always want your film to be universally accepted and understood. But at the same time, it's like, well, but this might be a little too dark for me. I'm going to disconnect at this moment. So just curious what you guys think about that.
Well, Martin, I think I just learned something from you, which is helpful. I have been a bit surprised at the reaction from the queer festivals that we've submitted to so far. I still have hope, but there has been a lack of interest in the film from LGBTQ plus festivals. So I think, that may be why. Maybe it is a darker subject, but I hope and look forward to screening at some festivals because I think the conversation is a good one to have. And I think I'd really appreciate it if it can work out. But I didn't know what you've just told me, which makes sense. I mean, our world premiere was at the Beverly Hills Film Festival, which is not exactly where I thought we would be showing the film. And then New York festivals, which makes sense. We're all local to New York, and we, in some ways, it was not a surprise. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Chisa, Darren, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I remember actually having the discussion with Jason DeBeers, the gentleman from Escape
Escape
Room
room.
Films, who tried to warn us when we were filming, and advised us actually, we sort of came up with this plan B of, shooting an alternate ending which would have suggested, I mean, it would have been sort of the narrative equivalent of like, and it was all a dream, kind of a thing. And that just didn't feel, it just did not feel authentic or like the story that we wanted to tell or realistic, especially in the moment. Um, and we knew that by not including that ending, we would be risking, you know, alienating ourselves from, you know, Midwestern, or like any sort of communities where that are a little more polite than New Yorkers or, LA, just the sort of more polite or more sort of concerned with, I guess I want to say like scared to present queer characters in any sort of with any negative attributes at all, right? And that is equally dehumanizing as far as I'm concerned, to not allow an entire segment of the population to be fully human, and to, uh, give, have permission to like experience all of even the sort of darker emotions and motivations, I think is a disservice. And so we went into it sort of knowing that, it's gonna land where it lands. Hopefully we will find some sort of back channel-y ways of getting into those communities, but more sort of public facing festivals are probably, we knew that it was a risk.
Yeah, the films will find a home. They all do. I mean, there's going to be a film festival that will fully embrace it and will fully accept it for what it is, and that's important. And as an artist, you guys, will feel like King Kong, top of the Empire State Building, because there's no feeling that could replace that when you've been accepted for exactly for the vision that you created. And I think that's important. And sometimes people have a tendency, artistic, creative people have a tendency to forget about that and say, well, I'm going to play the game. I'm going to do this because I want to be liked. I want to be accepted. I want to have more opportunities. And maybe that could work for a second, but then what if it doesn't? What's the reward for in that you I think it's a bigger reward to learn how to fail in a sense, because sometimes you say to yourself, well, I created this piece, it comes from my heart. And if people didn't connect to it, I'm still proud of it, regardless. Versus failing with something that you just don't care about, and
Right.
you wasted all that time and money for what,
Yeah. And compromised your mission, your vision for what, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole joy of this has been to make something together and something that is without compromise and just because we wanted to. So I'm so proud of us for we just setting out to do that thing and then doing it on maybe even a level that was beyond our imagining and staying so true to the original pages that she sent me, you know, which are, if you look at the shooting script, it's just all there, you know, it's shot for shot what she wrote, and it's incredible to see how Darren has translated that too. I don't know, just to shout out Darren a little bit. The opening shot of the film is like expert. I mean, it's one of my favorite shots in the whole film. It's a B-roll kind of moment where we have a voiceover and it's just a shot of a fly trap in a corner. And the metaphor of that is just so strong. It's just a trap set for this you know, that's what the story is, a mousetrap. And I think it's really cool. And the dishes, and then later they get cleaned, and all of these things are just so smart. And I'm appreciating cinematography in a new way after working with Darren. It's been really fun to see, and editing too, just to see how it all comes together. I was able to, as an actor, be part of that process, and I learned so much. I mean, that's why I say it was like a whole education. I think every actor should be in the room with an edit of something you've made, because you understand why and how things end up being kept. So
Yeah, the brilliant job, Darren. I mean, it's we're all saying it. I mean, even like just watching and trying to figure out what will be the next shot, it was always an element of surprise, to be honest with you. But reading about your history, and just out of curiosity, you started, I mean, you were a dancer once before. How do you make that transition from that into being a cinematographer? I know it's all in the arts, but
Yeah. Well, I grew up dancing. I think this is gonna be a long story. Sorry, guys. My parents, um, I did martial arts when I was a kid, and my sister danced, my older sister. I think my mom got tired of driving us back and forth, so she convinced the younger child, me, that I should be a dancer so I could kick higher and jump higher. So that's how I got into dancing. And I just kind of it stuck. It was good kind of like physical and mental um exercise to do, gave me something to focus on every day. And I knew I didn't want to do it as a career. And I was briefly in IT for a little while, and I left that because I wanted to be more creative. But I think, having the experience of dancing growing up really gave me like really centered myself around the arts and kind of performing. And yeah, so I mean that's how dance kind of works into this. And now, I feel like there may be some like subconscious like synergy that happens with a performer if I'm operating. Just being there is always the best, the funnest part for me, just being close. But
and
yeah,
cinema is movement. It
it
is
is.
moving
Yeah.
forward, and it
Yeah.
is so fun to watch how, and know you as a filmmaker now, to just see how the sort of the dance of the camera. It's very cool to know that about you, Darren. I didn't.
question for you guys in general, because I'm curious to know any influences that you guys have, Darren, as a cinematographer, anyone that you particularly admire now in the industry, or maybe from the past. You know, Brian, any actors from the past, present? She's any writers?
Oh God, so many writers. So many writers and so many directors. I do love Ava DuVernay. We were talking, Jalissa and I were talking about her, and just for how we were trying to figure out, am I following? I know I'm following her, but I'm like, is she following me? Because that would just be too much. Yeah, I'm also kind of obsessed with Hiro Murai right now. The director he directs a lot. Well, he started, I think, with music videos and then sort of got into TV with Donald Glover doing Atlanta and all the, and I just that sort of off-kilter, dark, little weird, is like, oh, it's just right up my alley, and that I would like give a kidney to work with that guy. And then yeah, writers. Oh, all that. I mean, Shonda. Who doesn't love Shonda? Let's see. Uh, the playwrights come to mind first, but just because that's what I actually studied. TV and film were sort of detours, were the little sort of deviations from what I was actually aiming for. But it's been it's been cool. I'm not complaining. So like Lynn Nottage is a huge influence. Um, who else? Oh my gosh, I feel like yeah, I can't even. I'm not because if I start listing people, then I'm gonna just say more people. But yeah, those are the first folks who come to mind.
All
Um,
right. Brian, anyone? Any actors?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm just gonna go off top of mind and know I'm gonna be missing people, but I'm really excited about the career of Jeff Hiller these days, and just am a fan of not only Jeff as a person, or not just as an actor, but really as a person, and how he's navigated this career, and where he's at. And I can't wait to see what he does next, and super excited for everything that he does because I think he's fascinating. I would say, Cola Scola, they're amazing. I would love to work with them someday. I'm thinking about actors I sort of respect who are a bit older than me, like Richard Grant. I love. I think his work is always so excellent, and he's definitely having an incredible career. Um, as well as some, we're in a time, Coleman Domingo. Like, I'm just thinking about all these queer actors who are able to have lives right now in the mainstream, and that's new. That's just new. And it's really exciting to see actors kind of step in and be seen and get big paychecks and get to carry films and TV shows, and Matt Bomer, all these people. So I'm looking at all the queer actors out there who are getting work and laying the ground.
Yeah, not being pigeonholed and saying, I mean, they could play whatever roles effectively. It's all about their technique, their craft.
Right.
Sort of an actor. That's
Yeah.
always great to see that. Darren?
I mean, so many filmmakers that I admire. I mean, I can't name all of them that I'm in love with right now. I mean, Hiro Murai is definitely one of them, but I will say the first cinematographer that I really kind of studied was Christopher Doyle. He shot for Wong Kar-wai. A lot of Wong Kar-wai's films in the 90s. He was just he was the first DP or filmmaker that I watched an interview on YouTube that he did, and he basically said, "Don't go to film school, go live abroad for 6 months and then come back and tell stories." And that was a big motivation for me to leave California and to go to film school, actually abroad though, and then go have life experiences and bring those life experiences to film. So he's someone I think about a lot. He also he talks about dancing with the camera too, so I think that really clicked with me. But yeah, I mean there's so many I can't even think about naming them all.
Oh, but that's a great choice. Yeah, I love the work that he has done. So it's a great choice, great person to admire and look
Yeah.
up to. Yeah. So we're basically at the end of our conversation, unfortunately, but I also do want to leave one final question for you guys. It's a question I ask all filmmakers just to get different perspectives on this. We slightly touched this a little bit throughout the conversation today, but for anyone out there who is 15 years old, 13 years old, 17 years old, maybe going to films, maybe going to college for this or not as an actor, filmmaker, director, writer, whatever it is, it wants to create, wants to be an artist, wants to be in the film industry, wants to make their own films, want to be a writer, they just want to write, whatever it is, but they don't know the first thing. What's the first step to take? What advice would you give them, being that you guys have done this numerous times? Um, and what challenges would you advise them to look out for? I mean, we all have our own personal experiences, our own journeys. Some come from money, some don't. Some have it easier, some don't. But what would you guys tell them if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I want to do this too. How do I sign up?"
I'll
Uh,
start by saying, team up. You don't have to do this alone. It is a collaborative art form, and we had an incredible collaboration. It continues, and it happened because I reached out to sort of collaborate. I said, can we do something together? And I think if you find your people, the people who you respect and love, then whatever you make will be great. So I would say reach out and don't do it alone.
Yeah, I think along that lines, find a way to embed yourself in the community and make things. And on, because as an artist, you'll spend a lot of time figuring out what you really like and what you're good at. And I think talking to as many people as you can, engaging with as many people as you can, going to festivals and watching all the films. And the smaller ones are great because you can go and talk to the filmmakers immediately, especially, shorts. I think they're great because there's no platform for shorts outside of the festivals, really. Um, so that, and also, you know, be authentic.
I would say, yeah, I mean, definitely find your tribe. Like, this is all good stuff. But I would also say, like, become like an obsessive fan of someone. Um, like just geek out over, like, I'm geeking out over here, Martin. But there was a point when I was obsessed, and I still am, but obsessed with Lynn Nottage, right? And I was in grad school, and I had to come up with an internship, while I was studying was part of the curriculum, and I had to figure out what I was going to do for my internship, and I didn't want to go fetch coffee or make copies at a theater company that wouldn't even remember who I was in a year. So I figured what would be useful to me is if I could just like shadow a living working playwright that I love, and respect. And it just so happened that the writer who was teaching my master class at school, Diana Sun, who is an awesome mentor, by the way, if you just sort of ask, your professors, like I asked Diana Sun, I said, hey, because she had mentioned that she was friends with Lynn. I said, do you think she would want an intern for a semester? And she said, well, I don't know, but I'll put you in touch. And she did. And, I came to Lynn. I think it helps to sort of not come with your hand out, or like not come like give me opportunities, but to be like, can I, I was sort of like, I just want to be of service. Like, can I be your assistant for a semester? What do you need? I'll pick up your dry cleaning. I did all kinds of random shit for like manage for a whole semester, right? But I think it just helps to, I don't know, to just connect with someone you respect, in whatever capacity you can, and to geek out over them and to show up wherever. I've gone to see all her stuff. I have all her plays that are up here, like whatever I can just devour someone, just become a voracious consumer of an artist that you respect, because you never know.
Yeah, great.
Wait,
Yeah.
before we shut, I hope that you three do another project together. I hope that you guys do something, another film
Oh, it's
together.
happening.
Oh,
It's
I'm
definitely
excited.
happening.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Well, I'll be checking social media to see updates, but I like the connection here is powerful, and I'm so interested to see what's next.
Ew.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
coming.
these
Keep
are
your
my
eyes peeled.
people, man.
Yeah.
These are my people.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we had a chance to connect. I I I'm really excited for the three of you and what's next. So, okay, good.
And I
good,
wish
good.
you guys the best of luck with Bad Dad, and there's more for you guys in store, I'm sure, more success for you guys with the film. So keep pushing it, And thank you for doing this.
Thank
And
you.
Thank
Yeah,
Thank
that
you
was
for
you.
really
having us.
fun. Thank you so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
for
Thank
appreciating what we did and having us on.
yeah. All
you.
right. So we're gonna close this out. If you guys want to hold on for 1 second.
Look at y'all, cuties. Brian, you're rubbing your eye like you need a nap.
Yeah, I probably do.